Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. I hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far, and in the wake of plenty of drama about the online era of the CDL and the fact that it's now at an end for the Vanguard season, OpTic has revealed his perspective on why exactly he decided to retire from professional play, citing mostly the format falling off a cliff in the CDL era. What can the CDL change next year to turn this ship around? Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy, subscribe if you're new as always, I greatly appreciate it. Everybody up to the channel, thanks very much indeed for doing that one. Plenty to dive into today. First of all, I wanted to mention this. Fancy is now available on Breaking Point if you guys want to get involved. Crimsix only $5 as he says right here in the reply. So Crimsix, honestly, I don't think it's too bad of an option here because New York might make a run in the winners bracket. Yes, New York have not won a series at all so far this year at a major event, but it may well change this time around. And of course, the further you go in the tourney, you get a multiplier based on your placing. So if a team comes top 12, their players, even if they do rather well in that one particular series they lose a fair few points based on the multiplier of the placing. So this is the team that Chrome went with. 0, Crimsix, Hydra, Shotzzy. Think this is a pretty good one, to be honest. I went for a rather similar team. My one is this, Crimsix and 0 both, because I thought for $5 they weren't bad value, given the fact that they could still make a run in the tourney. That should give a decent multiplier. Crim is never like good for that many good numbers, but there's still a possibility that he does well. I always try and go for one player that I think is kind of nailed on to drop some good digits. That's usually going to be Cellium. Dashi is also another option, but they're in losers this time. And then I went for TJ Halley over at Boston, actually. There's another few decent options for just $5 here that could round up the $25 budget, but I thought TJ for 5 was worth a punt given Boston's potential in that side of the bracket as well. And these actually, just to give you guys some more information, the top 10 fancy scorers for the stage 4 qualifiers. Slasher was actually top by quite some margin, which I thought was kind of incredible. Like, he had a monster stage, especially in the series they won, and these are the other ones as well. So yeah, check that in the link in the description box below. Get involved for the major. There's prizes on offer as well and all that type of good stuff as well. And let's just crack straight on with things. First of all, this one with regard to Modern Warfare 2. Apparently, Capture the Flag is making its return. This is, of course, rather interesting because what game mode are we going to play as the third game next year? Is it going to be Control? I feel like really the last couple of years, Control hasn't been as good as it was in Black Ops 4 when it was first introduced. For some reason, it feels like whenever Hardpoint or whatever Control or whatever game they're first introduced on is where they're at their best, and then after then they kind of fall off a cliff a little bit. I think Control's still a good game mode and still works okay. It's just this game with the maps don't make it particularly viable. But CTF has always kind of been, especially TJ Halley and the like, have always talked about bringing CTF back as the third mode. Of course, a couple of years ago in Modern Warfare, we had to live through Domination. Let's never do that one again. CTF is better than Domination. Is it much better? I don't know. Depends on the state of the maps, to be perfectly honest. I think Control is a safer pick for the third mode, but if Capture the Flag is in the game, as it currently is rumoured to be, alongside some of these other game modes as well, as you can see, it seems like CTF will be an option for the third game mode. So I guess the pros are going to try it out, see what happens, but yeah, let's not do Domination again. And even if Control is in the game mode, we don't even know if Infinity Ward are going to put Control in the game next time around for this year's title. So that's a bit of a question mark. Let's talk about OpTic real quick. Of course, they've got a tough time in the losers bracket here in the major, but they could certainly still make a run. Illy reckons they will be back stronger. Wanted to say this on Prolute as well, just because Prelute's kind of got out of the limelight a little bit, right? I still guess he's part of OpTic, right, on their sub bench, but realistically, he's probably not going to come back for the rest of the year. The team now does seem to have the squad they want with Illy there, but whether they can really perform at the major and beyond is another question as well. But as Prolute says, needs to be better for champs. That, of course, being the Amateur World Championship. Been playing my best COD this year, but things have not been going my way. So definitely still been some questions about Prolute and what happens next season, right? Because Rambo seems pretty convinced that Prolute will get a spot in the league. I feel like there were maybe a couple of teams when the recent roster changes were going down that could have benefited from Prolute, but of course it makes sense from their perspective to keep him on the team just in case there is another Illy concern. Let's talk Damon Karmabala then, right? Even tweets this out to about 15 or so thousand likes. We looked at this a couple of times now, but it still is just so good. But of course, like, Karma largely, well, for many years in his career, considered the greatest player of all time. It's only really recently that he's kind of fallen out of that conversation a little bit with regard to Scump and Crimsix, of course, kind of overtaken him in that race, I suppose. But still, the only 3-time world champion to have ever done it all in a LAN environment, and a crucial piece, of course, for the OpTic dynasty for many years. He even mentioned this actually, 22 hours or so ago as I'm recording this video, miss opening up Twitch on the weekends and seeing a COD tourney. Had Apex and Valap all weekends, didn't even know there were COD matches on, right? So he was watching the Apex stuff, he was watching the Valorant stuff, and honestly, I was watching a fair bit of the Valorant stuff. I didn't really get into the Apex stuff this weekend, but when the delays were on in COD, it was like, well, I've got to watch something else. Let me go on Twitch and see what's happening here. And as Jacob says, it's all good. Sure, there's plenty of new viewers on YouTube finding out about the CDL for the first time. That is the thing. In terms of CDL growth, the CDL really can't hope to grow at all if, first of all, the viewing experience is terrible, as it has been with all these days, and secondly, you're not on Twitch, right? Twitch right now still, I think, for esports is the way to actually grow an esport if you want to make that happen. But I I will admit the YouTube viewing experience is just way better, right? The fact that I can pause, rewind, all this type of stuff is just way better for an actual viewing experience on YouTube. The ideal world is it's on both platforms, and even Karma, you know, former pro player, 3-time world champion, didn't even know there were matches on this weekend because he just didn't see them on YouTube, right? He wasn't searching for them, therefore he didn't see it. But he also gives some insight right here on kind of one of the reasons why he decided to step away and retire back in the Modern Warfare season. And one of the key reasons was that he describes was effectively that the awful format in his opinion. The fact that the format's so boring, not fun to play at all, worlds away from what he had, I suppose, back when he was enjoying competing several years ago, and exactly what the CDL might need to do to turn it around.
CDL. I mean, people have been asking that. Usually every time I watch any COD or anything, they ask me that. And I always give, I don't know, multiple different opinions. But honestly, the truth is, dude, the format's no fun. The format's no fun. Like, dude, the year I played, I wasn't even playing, bro. Literally wasn't even playing. Like, I forget how the format worked, but like the one time, or the whatever the group matches were, or however the hell it worked, we lost the same team 3 times. It was like a group match and another group match. Then we played them again in the other group match. Then we go to bracket, and then we play the same team again. It's like dope. I just hate the format. I'm just really not a fan of the format at all in any way. And I can't do anything about that.
So this is just one of those examples, right, that we talked about just a couple of days ago. Los Angeles Guerrillas, Slasher was certainly feeling the same thing, had an awful nightmare last night, dreamed that we had a 4-hour delay-filled reverse sweep of London, then had to watch OpTic get reverse swept and New York get 2-3-5'd, making us miss out on a winner's bracket, right? This is the key thing that a lot of people say, is that, I mean, look, with 12 teams, if you want to do a 12-team tournament, as I think is obviously a good idea, you want to have all 12 teams there, not just 8 teams, but with only 12 teams, you've got to have some teams starting and losers, unless you do like a group play thing before the tourney begins, which is effectively what's happening right now anyway, even though it's no longer groups. Like they're just done online qualifiers, randomly seeded matches between the 5 matches you play out of the 11 other teams that you could potentially play during a split try. But I think a lot of people are frustrated that this online play, it just counts for so much, right? Of course, you can lose all these online matches and then not qualify for the winners bracket due to like a bad tiebreaker not going in your favor, and therefore you're already way on the back foot by the time you get to the major. And just I think a lot of the frustration has been that there's just way more online play now than there is LAN play. The online counts for more. Like there's a lot of teams that have secured way more points online than they have done on LAN this season. Like New York are a good example really, where they've secured 0 points on LAN and they've secured 110 points online. Rokkr as well have got like, I don't know, 20-30 points on LAN or something like that. Like not that many at all. And they've got the vast majority of their points online for World Championship qualification, right? Which does frustrate an awful lot of people. I think there's definitely a way to turn this around, because back in the day, this group play type stuff would not be done over the course of 3 weeks online. It would be done on the Friday at the event, right? They would do the group play matches on Friday and Saturday morning, and then that would do the seeding for the bracket at the event. That was like a full weekend extravaganza of Call of Duty. That's what the pros loved playing, right? Often OpTic would go along to these events, like be kind of slow on Friday, maybe lose their first group play match or lose the first hard points. Then they'd kind of get to warm up into the weekend, play an awful lot of COD, and then have an absolute blast on Saturday, Sunday, when all the teams are going neck and neck for the entire weekends. The way it works now, it's so much more spread out, and the tournament is spread over an entire month, and half of the tourney is done online, right? And as Slasher says, revolutionary idea, hear me out. You know, it would be dope and probably get rid of these delays, go back to a LAN environment, right? So do the entire thing on LAN. This is what used to happen back in Black Ops 4. And even thinking back to World War II, and I'm pretty sure even Infinite Warfare maybe, like all the Pro League stuff was done on a LAN setting at the MLG studios, I'm pretty sure in Columbus, Ohio. And they would get the pro teams out there for a couple of weeks at a time, play all the kind of the Pro League matches. Now look, people could argue, do you need Pro League, do you not? I feel like the CDL wants to keep the Pro League around and these kind of like online matches that are ongoing relatively consistently, because it's good for viewer numbers, it's good for watch time, it's good for sponsors to have Call of Duty on all the time, right? It's much better, I think, than what Halo do, where they have like 6 months, then they do a big event, and then another 6 months and a big event, right? And there's really nothing going on in between. It makes sense to do what the CDL do from this perspective. But if you are going to do group play matches or seeding matches or whatever, doing them on LAN is just so much better for everyone, right? And it's maybe understandable that going into this year, they weren't really convinced, okay, can we get everyone in the same same location, like with the pandemic stuff still at the start of this season, there was going to be some question marks when they were planning this year. But going into this next year, there's no question marks anymore. Right? If they wanted to make this happen, they absolutely could. Whether they will is another question, though. So just kind of honing in a little bit on what Karma had to say, because this is one of the examples of the format when he was on this Seattle Surge team back in, of course, the Modern Warfare days. And this format that year was absolutely terrible. Right? I don't blame Karma getting out of there, because effectively what they did was every couple of weekends they would do an event, but only 8 teams would go to each event, and they'd barely play any matches, right? So Seattle Surge barely played any games all season, because they would go to these events, get O2'd, lose twice in their group and go out of the tourney, not even advance to the bracket play, and then, okay, unlucky lads, we'll see you again in 2 weeks' time, or maybe we just won't, because maybe you're not at the next tournament with only 8 teams instead of 12. So the Modern Warfare season was terrible. The last couple of years, I think it has got somewhat better, but it's definitely not what it was back in the day. This is the Black Ops 4 season, for example, when the Pro League was done over the course of many weeks. You can see right here, the week of the 4th, the week of the 11th, 18th, and 25th, every single week for a few weeks in a row, they would have about 3 or 4 games every night in a LAN setting. Pretty sure this stuff was done at the MLG studios in Columbus, Ohio, like maybe it was a little bit before that, but I'm pretty sure that's where this stuff was set. All the pro players would fly out there for a few weeks at a time, play these matches for the week, and then these, of course, would put you in in the standings in the league for the season, and then like they would, of course, seed you for the big tournaments that were coming up, and also at the end of the season, like the best teams would advance to the playoffs and play the playoffs, and then the World Championship, of course, was beyond that as well. This is another example, actually, of what the events used to look like, right? So this happened, this is MLG Anaheim, or CWL Anaheim, back in 2019, where what happens here for this event is now happening over the course of effectively an entire month, but this was happening over 3 days. You would have the groups, you would have 16 teams into 4 groups, these were the results of the groups, then you'd have the winners bracket, the losers bracket, and the grand finals, all over one weekend. Now the way it's done is you do all these group play matches effectively over online over the course of a month, and then you do the winners, losers, and grand finals on the weekend, right? So I think the way that Karma would probably like to see it done is something like this yet again, where yes, there might be a pro league and there might be regular matches we can watch every single week, but that is done in a LAN environment in Columbus, Ohio, or wherever you want to do it, and then the actual events themselves are done over 3 or 4 days, but they're done on an Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta stream or whatever, where there's loads of matches going on the kind of the early couple of days to help seed for the tournament. Like, I think people just miss, and the pro players just miss in general, playing at more matches, right? Like, they kind of get frustrated, and I think Karma agrees it's kind of boring that you practice all week, and then you play, what, 1 game on the Friday, and then that might be it for your week, right? And then you play next week, Friday, Saturday. So I think there's positives, I think there's negatives, but I think Karma's certainly right to say that, maybe this is not done as well as it might be possible to do it, right? So yeah, definitely tweet your thoughts on that in the comment section below. They were kind of getting roasted as well. I don't even know what this content is for the CDL. Like, yeah, let me just move on from that one. No, anyway, this is the bracket if you guys missed it the other day. Ravens Ultra, Thieves FaZe, Subliners, Rokkr, Breach Mutineers in the winner's side, Guerrillas, Legion, OpTic, Surge down low. I mean, yeah, this bracket is absolutely stacked, to be honest, going into this tourney, but giving the CDL some props actually here to close out the video, because definitely want to call out when the CDL does bad things. When they do good things, you've got to give them credit, because then they might keep on doing them. This is the schedule for Major 4 coming up in a couple of days' time. Once again, they are starting the matches at 1:30 p.m. Eastern. This is absolutely fantastic news, especially for fans over in Europe. They did this at the last Major as well, because it means that on Thursday, Friday, like all the days that would be really late, are now actually going to be at more reasonable time. Right? The last game isn't going to finish at 4 a.m. my time and 5 a.m. in kind of mainland Europe, unless, of course, there are significant delays, which you wouldn't necessarily rule out. But, the CDL and New York are doing a good job, I think, in actually putting the matches earlier, and even the London Ultra game, the kind of European teams, they play early in the day, and so do Paris, even though they're not really a European team, but you know what I mean? So I thought this is good, bringing it back an hour and a half earlier. I don't really think it affects North American audiences that much. Yes, okay, maybe people are still at work on the Thursday and the Friday, but on the whole, I think it's better for everyone. Apart from maybe Australian viewers, but, I guess someone's always got to lose out. But very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new as always, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time.